Good morning, students. Last time we got over with the topic male reproductive system. If you have any questions regarding that, you can ask me. And today I will be moving on with female reproductive system, the one you are seeing on the screen, right? Before I start with the structure, as last time we discussed that when we talk about the reproductive systems, the organs which constitute a reproductive system are categorized as primary sex organs and secondary sex organs. And primary are those which are involved in the formation, the production of gametes, the reproductive cells, and secondary sex organs are those which help in transferring these gametes to their respective sites so that they can fuse with each other. Right, children? So primary sex organ is basically involved in gametogenesis, and secondary sex organs are involved in gamete transfer. Right, children? As of now, the diagram that you are seeing on the screen, this is a female reproductive system. I am sure that you people are very well versed with this diagram because we have done this at the level of class 10th. But again, I will be explaining this diagram to you. Slightly, the detailings would be of class 12 standard. So please take care of that while listening to the video. Right here. As we start the diagram, you need to learn how to draw it, how to label it. The things that we are taking care of. The first thing is the ovary. If you see, we always draw the ovary like this, but must understand that ovary is never a physical part of the rest of the uterine system. Ovaries are suspended in they are basically of mesodermal origin, and they are suspended in the lower abdominal cavity just behind the kidney, and they are I won't say behind kidney, slightly lower than that, and they appear to be attached to uterus, though they are not. They are fixed to their positions with this connection, which is known as mesovarium. Mesovarium, you also call it ovarian ligament. Right, children? And then you notice that there is a tubular structure, right? And there is a folded projection at one end. Now this folded projection is known as fimbriae. This is the terminal part of this tubular structure. This tubule is a fallopian tube, and the terminal part of this fallopian tube is fimbriae, which is a folded umbrella-like projection. Why it is so much folded? So that the surface area can be increased, and there are maximum chances to trap the ovum which is released out of the ovary. Whenever the ovum is released, straight away it goes into the fallopian tube. This is made sure by the fimbriae, or you may also call it oviductal funnel. Right, children? So the first thing was ovary, which was connected to its place by mesovarium. Whenever the ovary releases an egg, that egg has to be trapped by this oviductal funnel. That's why the surface area is more. And then ultimately, we know that the inner lining of fallopian tube, right there, inner lining of fallopian tube is ciliated. It is composed of ciliated epithelium. That means now this ciliated epithelium would also be helping to push the ovum further. After this oviductal funnel, in the middle there is a slightly swollen structure. I mean, the fallopian tube swells a bit here in the middle at both the sides. It swells, and then you start calling it ampulla. The swelling is known as ampulla. This is the precise site of fertilization in the fallopian tube. Till now you used to answer what is the site of fertilization, you tend to answer fallopian tube, but now you have to know the precise location where in fallopian tube. So the middle portion of fallopian tube, which is slightly swollen, this is the site for fertilization, and it is known as ampulla. Right, children? Then you say that this is a wider cavity. This is the uterine cavity. Uterine cavity, you have the muscular wall at this side, right? Always remember, I have written here uterus and uterine endometrium, two different things. The outer lining is always muscular here. This lining is always muscular. So in that case, we call it uterus body or muscular lining. Muscular lining may be called as myometrium. Myometrium, right? And the inner lining of this uterus body is endometrium. There is a difference between the two. Myometrium is entirely made up of muscles and endometrium is slightly mucosal, right? Slippery, mucosal, enriched with blood connective tissue. Myometrium is responsible, since it is muscular, it is responsible for inducing contractions and relaxations in the reproductive system. And this is something which helps at the time of childbirth. If you people remember, we have studied this at the level of class 10th too, that uterine contractions and relaxations, they bring about parturition. Parturition is the childbirth, right children? So there is a thickening in the muscles here, and then this uterine cavity goes slightly narrower. If you see now, this has become narrow, and you will call it cervix. The narrow tubular tract of the uterus at the lower side is known as cervix, right? This cervix opens into a wider cavity, vagina. Now vagina is something which is known as the external genital or external copulatory organ. The way males have penis, which can be seen from outside, similarly the females have vagina. Rather, vagina, you call it vulva. The whole word is known as vulva. That's a spongy triangular padding having skinny folds, labia majora, and just beneath this labia majora, the smaller folds are labia minora, and when these smaller folds are open, there is an aperture which is known as vaginal aperture, right children? The way we had glands of penis in a very sensitized area in males, right? The tip of the penis, which is very much sensitive, it brings about excitement during sexual contact. Similarly, the vaginal vulva, it does contain a point which is the tip of labia minora. That tip is known as clitoris. This clitoris brings about sexual arousal, right children? So this is how you are going to draw. Always remember that the muscular lining in cervical region is always thicker than the uterine lining. That's why the cervix becomes slightly narrower. This is how you are going to draw a female reproductive system with all its structures, right children? We will be proceeding further in the next video.